You want to know what is the scariest thing you could do as a YouTuber this time of year? Look back at your old videos. Sub-channel OGs may remember when I looked back at weird Metro safety videos, basically seeing what Trainboy did and saying, hey, what if I did that, but what videos I watched as a kid? And those videos ended up being the first fully made for the site, instead of just old iMovie re-uploads from like a year ago. Speaking of Metro, y'all know Dumb Ways to Die, that song that became really popular 10 years ago? Yeah, that's a train safety video. From Metro. I somehow never knew that. But we're not here to talk about that. What we are here to talk about is Beware of the Friendly Dragons, which was another video I used to watch endlessly. And looking back was kind of scarring. So as we are in Halloween season and the month of my 3-year channel anniversary, let's delve back into the stuff I used to do before I made a custom of Arthur. Let's go.
Interesting how cars are hooked together to make trains.
You know, this art style and video in general reminds me a lot of those old animated videos from the 80s based off of books that my library teacher would read, and then we get to compare and contrast the books and movie. Good times.
The sounds and movements of railroading have always attracted children, watching the mighty engines move their chain of cars along the rails. But these engines and cars are powerless to protect children who come onto the railroad to play.
If only kids could read.
They thought it would be fun to crawl under these cars. But it wasn't. And now he may lose his life, or if he's lucky, just an arm or leg.
He was startled by a noise from the other side of the yard. The train wasn't moving. I am not condoning this, but he wasn't gonna get killed yet. Yet.
Okay, so it's dangerous to crawl under the cars, says one of the boys. Let's just climb between the cars. It's very dangerous to cross over between railroad cars, because you never know when the train might move. Jimmy was almost across when these cars moved, and his foot was crushed.
Why would you put your foot there, in a place it would obviously close in? This is all on you, man.
Playing in an empty boxcar looks like lots of fun.
Who picks up their friend like that? Who just goes, hey dude, can you give me a hand? Don't worry bro, I got you. 80s kids, can you confirm people actually did this back then? If not, 50s kids, I don't know.
The heavy car doors can even break your arm or leg.
Oof, man, you can feel the sting in that leg pit. You know that's gotta be a cracked kneecap or something.
What if you didn't get hurt by the door closing?
I don't know about that kid. At the very least, his fingers are getting sliced off.
You might just be locked inside.
Also, how come the workers closing the doors didn't see the kids hanging out right in front of the doorway? Is there poor visibility when closing boxcar doors? I don't know, probably. Either way, these kids are goners, likely being shipped off to the worst place in the US. North Dakota. A fitting consequence for messing with transportation.
Rushing along the rails, the Friendly Dragon uses these same boxcars to bring a bicycle for a boy or girl, a washing machine for mom, and a new car for dad.
While this video was made in the 80s, it definitely has a lot of 60s overtones, such as the nuclear family and the kids constantly being left unattended for some ungodly reason. Just let the boy play with the death core, he'll be fine.
Railroad men drive the big diesel dragons very carefully because they do not want to see anyone hurt.
Well, that's a dumb way of looking at it. Why shouldn't you run over these people? Who's gonna stop you? You can plow through anything. Cars, trucks, goddamn school buses. You're practically invincible. Oh, never mind.
It may not look dangerous to walk on a rail when there isn't a train coming, but boys and girls have slipped and hit their heads on the tracks.
That's one hell of a comedic slip.
You can also get your foot stuck in a railroad switch. Then you look down the track and there is a train coming toward you.
Jesus, that went from 0 to 1,000 real goddamn fast.
What do you think would happen?
Well, I can tell you the foot would still be there, that's for sure. Can't say the same for the rest of them, though.
Some bridges are built to carry people and cars. Railroad bridges are just for trains, not people. On most railroad bridges, there isn't room for boys and girls to stand while a train goes by.
Why is that, actually? Like, what if a train breaks down on the bridge, then the engineer won't have any space to really fix it? That's a dumb design.
You could even fall between the railroad ties and couldn't get off of the bridge in time.
Just duck under the sleepers completely. You should be fine. Permanently mentally scarred, but fine.
It's fun to jump. And jumping from one boxcar to another looks like fun, too. But if a locomotive should suddenly move one of the cars, look out, Mike! The same could happen to you.
If only Mike could jump.
These boys weren't thinking when they put a rock on the track to see what would happen to it. A train can be knocked off the tracks, even by such a small thing as a rock.
Believe me, I would know.
This rock hurt somebody. A railroad man's work car crashed and sent him to the hospital.
Damn, how fast were you riding on that thing? Obviously, don't put stuff on the tracks, but also don't ride so fast you literally fly off the rails.
Always stay away from railroad cars, especially cabooses.
Why? What's so bad about a train car designed for people to actually sit in? Jesus, okay, you proved your point. Don't go into cabooses unless you want to get flashbanged.
They found a railroad fusee, a special kind of flare, and just wanted to see how it worked. Mary is not nearly as pretty as she once was. Her face is scarred with burns from the fusee. Her brother Mike hasn't been able to see since he lit the flare. He may never see again.
He's gonna end up looking like Anakin from Return of the Jedi. Poor bastard.
On the tracks near their school, these boys have found a railroader's special signal that is attached to the rail. When an engine runs over the signal, it lets the engineer know that he must slow down. But Pete took the signal just for fun. And look what happened.
Sort of unrelated, but does this guy not have kneecaps anymore?
This train wreck may have killed an engineer, fireman, or brakeman. Maybe all of them.
I killed every single one of them. And not just the engineer, but the driver. And the fireman, too. But not the brakeman, he's fine.
On the way home, Pete decided to find out what was inside of the thing he took off the track. He tried to open it by hitting it with a hammer.
Ah yes, my go-to way to opening my Amazon packages.
When Pete hit it, it exploded, and he lost his hand.
Well, given that Pete has a body count of 3 at this point, it's just kind of karma.
Now there are lots of good things to throw. Footballs, baseballs, basketballs. But these young boys have thrown rocks and hit a train window and hurt this boy and girl's mother and dad.
I honestly have nothing to say about this other than it's just a daily reminder not to vandal. I know it's hard to resist the urge, but don't do it.
Here are 2 older fellows who broke the lock on a switch just to see how it worked.
Okay, those do not look like the faces of people who just wanted to see how it worked. Matter of fact, aren't those the same guys who broke the train window? They're just flat out menaces.
Then they left the switch so that the next train would go on the wrong track.
Man, Jackie took a downward spiral.
This express train is now going to hit this tank car full of gasoline.
This was sabotage. This was literally sabotage. Why? So the drivers wouldn't know about the real happenings of the JFK assassination.
The railroad is not a playground. Playing on railroad tracks, boxcars, and bridges, playing with switches, flares, and signal lights can be very dangerous.
Right. So what I've learned from this video is that you should never go near any train tracks. Ever. You will immediately die or be disfigured for life if you do so.
Railroading is an important part of America's history. Famous people like Buffalo Bill, Casey Jones, and Abraham Lincoln once worked for railroads.
No way. You're telling me that legendary train driver, Casey Jones, drove a train?
Railroads will help shape America's space-age future.
Or be stripped down to mainly freight services to make way for highway systems specifically routed to go through neighborhoods and minorities.
And be the friendly dragon's helper by warning other children about how dangerous it is to play on the railroad.
Thanks, Illinois Central. You've officially scarred me. This video pulls no punches. It is brutal in its showcase of lacking railroad safety knowledge. And as messed up as it is, I kind of respect that. You are shown directly what happens if you screw around on the railroad. You pay the ultimate price. It's morbid, but it's right. The railroad is a dangerous place, especially back in the 80s in Illinois, and carried on via Amtrak. There's only so much you can do on the railroads to prevent these incidents before you just say to the kids, hey, can you just not go there? Believe me, you are not the kids in Stand By Me, okay? As much as I joked about this video, hopefully the point still got across to you.
Do not play around railroad tracks and equipment.
This is Liam Keenan, and that's about it.